Greetings. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Health Practitioner Business Success Show. Good morning. It's Friday here in Australia. I know around the world, wherever you are, is going to be slightly different when you watch this, maybe even on the replay. So, so let me introduce this show. This show is for health practitioners to come on and share some of the things that have helped them to be successful in their business. It's for health practitioners. So today I've got a special guest on the show. It's Emiline Duncan. Come on in. How are you?
Good morning. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. So just for people that don't know you yet, tell them where you are.
Sure. So I am in Brisbane, Australia. So pretty hot here at the moment, even though we're not quite into summer yet. And just to let you know a little bit about myself, I have been working as a remedial massage therapist for almost 20 years now. So I know the health business quite well. But I also have added in modalities to complement that. So I work as a counsellor, and I also do a little known practice called TRE. So that's tension release exercises, because I really found that, as whole people, we often don't have experiences just in our head or just in our body. We have them all through our system at the same time. So I really wanted to bring techniques to people that would really help them, integrate their entire experience.
Sure. Thanks for that lovely introduction, Emiline. Yes, so way back when, started 20 years ago, you started work as a remedial massage therapist.
Yes.
So what was life back then? It's an awful long time I'm going to get you to think back to, but how was it back then when you first started your practice? Perhaps social media very kind of in its very early stages and all that? How did you set up your practice back then?
Yeah, so I actually came from a corporate background. So I worked as a project manager for one of the large companies in Australia and suffered some pretty significant burnout by the age of 25. And I suppose that spurred my interest in health and helping people. Back then, I was putting flyers in letterboxes and, really just talking to local people just to let them know who I was. And, business then, a lot of it was based on word of mouth, and that's important. But, we have so many amazing tools at our fingertips now as business owners that we just didn't have back then. So, the hard yards were pretty hard back then.
That's right, for sure. You can just get so much wider now to a much bigger audience, especially with the online kind of platforms these days, can't you?
Yeah. And I think that's where you really are able to share your passion with people, which is such a wonderful, wonderful thing. You would really rely on people being face-to-face, person-to-person to be able to do that in the past. But, now, with Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, you can just really share what you know so much more freely, which is a beautiful thing,
Yeah, that just got me thinking about something though, Emmeline. Back then, and I remember back then very, very clearly from doing these shows, and it makes me think back to then. I remember a lot of people just starting out didn't even have websites. And if they did have websites, didn't have an image on there, didn't really, you didn't get to see the person that you wanted to see until you actually turned up at their physical practice.
Yes.
And so you kind of you didn't really know what you were getting back then. And you just had to kind of sometimes just read their information and hope for the best. These days, you get to see people. You get to almost like feel and smell people. I know that technology is not around yet, but it feels like when you can see it through, people on video, right, these days, it feels like you can get to really know them. You hear the voice, you hear the accent, you hear the softness, the tones in their voice. It feels a lot different these days. Do you think that is a good thing or not? What's your view on that?
I really love that. I think that's why word of mouth back then was so powerful, because even though you really couldn't get a real sense of who you were going to, you would trust the person who had recommended you.
Sure.
Whereas now people, and I look at my Instagram followers every day. I look at all of the people who like and love and share my posts. I read every single comment, and I kind of feel like I get to know people and build a relationship with people as well. And I really love that element. I think that as a health practitioner, your relationship with the people that you work with is absolutely the foundation of everything. And so for people to really be able to get a sense of who you are, why you do what you do, what's so important about the work that you do, it gives them a real opportunity to know, before they take that step. And I never underestimate the bravery in making that step. Even coming into massages, that's quite confronting, and it's a lot of trust that people place in you. So to be able to have a bit of an assurance by knowing a bit more about the practitioner, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, both for the person seeking support and for the practitioner too.
Yeah, and it gets you to, like you say, for us as practitioners, know our audience better. We know kind of who we're working with and who we're aiming towards, don't we?
Yeah.
So we talked about the part of there in terms of your journey along the way, really, in terms of you then decided to train as a counsellor, didn't you? And so what was the decision behind adding that skill set to your massage?
So I was finding that when I was working with people, if I was able to get people to talk about what was present for them, that their bodies would respond more quickly. They would seem to let go of the tension, and they would let go of, some of the defense that they were holding. Now, I didn't realize at the time that, I was indirectly affecting the nervous system, but I did have a sense that, the talk component of it was really valuable for people. So I wanted to put some structure around that and put some qualifications behind that. So I did my counselling degree. And look, a little confession is that I'm far more interested in the person than the body. So that was, my kind of way of being able to connect with people in a really authentic way.
Sure.
But what I found was that, massage sits in one space and counselling can sit in another. If I tried to do both at the same time, I wouldn't get great results with either. So I kind of needed something that sat in between that. And, with the TRE, the tension release exercises, it allows me to use my counselling skills, it allows me to use my bodywork skills, and allows me to impart techniques, to people so that they can go off and use the skills to support themselves. So I feel like, having the three modalities, it really fits quite nicely together.
Sure. Yeah, it does. It sounds like you've kind of found a transition between the two, which enables you to use both kind of skills. So tell us a little bit more, because I'm not too familiar with tension release exercise, and I'm not sure how our viewers will, and certainly your audience will know about this, but in terms of the wider audience and getting this out to, and to kind of educating people a little bit more about that kind of tool, just give us in a nutshell a little bit about what it actually does and how it does it.
So what we do, TRE was developed by a man called David Baselli, and he was working with some really traumatised communities. And through observing them, while they were being bombed or while they were, in the midst of their traumatic experiences, he noticed that their bodies, regardless of, the multitude of cultures that might be in the room, that everyone had the same, they would shake and they would, kind of close down and close in. So then he started to experiment with some exercises that would bring in some natural fatigue into the body to allow neurogenic tremors to arise. So when you're shaking in the process of TRE, your body is moving, but you're not consciously controlling that. So the shaking actually discharges excess energy from the nervous system. And we see this quite a bit in mammals. It's quite a natural kind of self-sustaining and self-healing ability that our body has, a bit like our immune system. Our immune system kicks in and kind of fights the germs and the viruses and the bacteria. So our nervous system naturally shakes, but in our modern world, we see shaking as weakness. We see shaking as vulnerability. And the first thing we do when we see someone shaking is we kind of try and put them or hold them or put a blanket around them and shut it down. Whereas if the body is allowed to complete that process, it comes out the other side and it doesn't hold that nervous energy.
That's great. It's a nice little summary because I now understand it. That's great. And so how have you found your practice differs now in terms of offering that kind of, do you call it a therapy or how do you call it?
I suppose I call it a practice or a technique. The beautiful thing about it is that it empowers people. So it's not about, people having to come and see me every single week for X amount of time. It's a process that people can use themselves for the rest of their lives.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I'm a big advocate for people being personally empowered. I love seeing people and I love, supporting people on a regular basis, but I love even more when people don't need me, and they go off into the world and they live their happy lives and are doing great. So I really wanted something, with counselling, people have to come and see you. With massage, people have to come and see you. But with TRE, people can learn the technique and then they can go off and use it on their own.
So is this, Emiline, is this something you have to do physically in the presence of, or is this something you can do over the internet with people?
Look, some practitioners do work with people over the internet. David actually wrote a fantastic book about TRE, calls it The Revolutionary Approach to Treating Trauma. And so the exercises are in the book, but quite often people will find that if they try the exercises on their own, they don't get the movement because their nervous system hasn't got that support. And also too, my personal thoughts on using the exercises on your own is you're probably better off learning with a practitioner to begin with, just because our nervous system can be a bit of an unknown quantity when we're so used to kind of pushing everything down and holding everything in. Just to have that gentle support while you're just kind of, like riding a bike. We all learn with our mum and our dad and our training wheels, and it's a bit the same. So I like to do it one-on-one.
And the problem online is you only see this much. You only see this much of a person, and with the kind of tools that you and I use, because I use a lot of hypnotherapy and NLP work in my work too, is that I need to see the whole body. I need to see what is going on in places where the client's not too aware of those things going on, so that I can know as a therapist. And I think online doing certain therapies doesn't work so well because you can't see the holistic congruency or not that's going on. Is that what you feel?
That's such a strong point, Karen, because, I don't know about you, but I start assessing people as soon as they walk through the door. At the areas where they're holding tension, I'm looking at their demeanour, I'm looking at, how they're communicating. And I imagine, particularly with your NLP background, you would have a really strong sense through, just social chit-chat about, how people are sitting within themselves and using that information to kind of enrich what you bring to people. So, I certainly agree with that.
Yeah, stunning. So so you're based in Brisbane, so you have a practice down there in Brisbane. Do you work from home or do you work from a clinic?
I work from a clinic. I quite like the separateness of having a workspace and a home space. And I can be a bit of a workaholic. So, I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning working on an Instagram post. And, if I decided to open my computer at night, I'd probably, end up enjoying 3 hours on Canva.
Oh, yes.
desk, looking up quotes, for hours. So I kind of need those solid boundaries.
Okay, sure. So tell people where they can find you to access some of what you do. What's the best place for people to contact you to find out more?
Okay, so a good starting point is my website. So that's www.thenurturefoundation.com. So that's got information around Thierry, it's got blog posts, it's got, my location. I'm in Alderley in Brisbane, so I'm about 10 minutes north of the city. I also do online counselling sessions, but I tend not to do the Thierry stuff just because I like to be with the person when I'm working with that process. Sure. So I'm around.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to put some of that on the show notes after we finish here today. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Emiline. I always value knowledge, and I love to learn new things on these shows. And there's a lot of different techniques and tools and therapies and that on the market these days that are really stunning little things to use. And it sounds like you've just picked a good one there to what I really like. I'm with you on the idea of giving people self-development tools, self-empowerment tools, so that they don't rely on us as therapists. Yes, it seems a crazy business idea. We're kind of sending people away, but that's the best kind of therapist that gives the client the tools to use it themselves. I love that.
Absolutely.
So yes, I will be putting that on the show notes. So yes, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for joining me today, and have a great day.
Thanks, Karen.
Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, another great show. I love these shows. So this is about the Health Practitioner Business Success. This is about sharing somebody's knowledge of being in business and having a great practice, having a journey actually to tell of where they've started and where they've come from to where they are today, and sharing some of their world, some of their tools that they use in that business. So, yeah, thanks to Emiline for joining us today. And what I'd like to do is, if you want to come and learn a bit more about being a successful health practitioner, come on into our group, Health Practitioner Business Success Group, online on Facebook. And there's lots more things you can get involved in on there. Either come on and interview with me here or just watch and learn. So all the best for today. See you again
I've been
soon.
looking at stuff. It's been really good. I'm really enjoying it. So you'll see me around.
Thanks, Emiline. Bye.